What if I told you that the life you're living right now, your struggles, your routines, your habits, your excuses, are not the life you were designed for? What if I told you that the next 30 days could completely rewrite the story of who you are, what you become, and how your future unfolds? Most people spend years waiting for the right moment, but I want you to imagine just for a second that this month is your moment. Not next year, not someday, this one, the last month before everything changes. The month where you finally decide who you are going to be. And if you let these words sink in, if you really absorb what I'm about to tell you, this will be the moment that flips your entire life trajectory forever. Because here's the truth. You are one decision away from a completely different life. One mindset shift away from new income, new confidence, new opportunities, new discipline, new freedom. People underestimate how fast life can change when you stop waiting and start acting. Your last 10 years might have looked the same, but your next 10 years depend entirely on what you choose to do in the next 30 days. This is the last month where you operate on your old level, your old excuses, your old fears.
After this, everything changes.
Most people never realize how much of their life runs on autopilot. Wake up late, scroll aimlessly, complain about the same problems, blame circumstances, wait for motivation, repeat. And what makes it worse is that they actually believe this is normal. They think surviving is the same as living. They think busy is the same as productive. They think wishing is the same as taking action. But deep down, there's a version of you screaming to break out. A version that knows you're capable of more. A version tired of settling. A version that wants to finally win. That version of you isn't waiting for inspiration or luck or someone to save you. That version is waiting for you to stop running from responsibility and start running toward your potential. This month is the month you stop negotiating with your excuses. No more I'll start tomorrow. No more I don't feel ready. No more I'll try when things calm down. There is no perfect time. There is only time and what you choose to do with it. And the people who win in life are the ones who treat each day like it actually matters, because it does. Every day compounds, every choice compounds, every habit compounds. And what you build over the next 30 days can set a foundation strong enough to carry you into the life you keep dreaming about. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that their future will magically be better than their present, even though they're doing nothing differently today. They expect growth without effort, results without sacrifice, success without discipline. They want a new life, but keep protecting their old habits. And that's exactly why they stay stuck. Change doesn't happen when it's easy. It happens when you're tired of your own excuses. It happens when you're so fed up with feeling behind that you finally snap and decide to rise. And that snap, that breaking point, is powerful. Some people call it rock bottom, but I call it the turning point. The moment where fear burns away and commitment finally takes over. If you've ever felt like life isn't moving fast enough, like you're capable of more but don't know where to start, like you're tired of seeing other people win while you stay stagnant, then this is your turning point. This is the last month you stay where you are. The next 30 days are not about motivation. Motivation fades. It's about transformation. And transformation begins when you're honest with yourself. So ask yourself right now, how many times have you let fear decide your life for you? How many opportunities have you watched pass by because you thought you weren't ready? How many dreams have you let shrink because you didn't believe in yourself? How many years have you spent living below your potential simply because you didn't take control? People spend more time planning vacations than they do planning their future. They know what they'll eat next weekend, but have no idea what their goals are. They know every detail about celebrities, influencers, and trends, but barely know anything about their own financial health, their habits, their weaknesses, their strengths. They treat life like a game they don't have to play seriously, and then wonder why they feel lost, broke, or stuck. The next month changes this. This is your month of clarity, your month of discipline, your month of uncomfortable but necessary growth. You're going to learn to operate at a level you didn't know you had, because deep inside you, there's potential that has never been unlocked simply because you learned to tolerate a life beneath your standards. You learn to settle for good enough. You learn to accept mediocrity, not because you're weak, but because you were never taught what happens when you hold yourself to a higher standard. That ends now. For the next 30 days, you're going to raise your standards so high that your old life won't even recognize you. You see, life doesn't change when you want it to change. It changes when you demand it to. When you refuse to keep living on the same level, when you stop allowing laziness, fear, and procrastination to slow you down, and when you start choosing discipline over comfort. Discipline is not punishment, it's self-respect. It's the moment you decide you are worthy of more than the easy path. It's the moment you choose long-term freedom over short-term pleasure. Every person who has built a successful life, financially, mentally, physically, went through a period of intense, focused discipline, a period where they said no to everything that didn't align with their future, a period where they sacrificed comfort to build capability, a period where they acted as the person they wanted to become, not the person they currently were. If you want to change your life, you have to go through your period of discipline. And that period starts right now. For the next 30 days, you are going to wake up earlier than you want to. You are going to work harder than you feel like. You are going to study, learn, and build, even when your mind tries to negotiate. You're going to take action, even on days where you feel tired or overwhelmed. You're going to commit to your goals so strongly that your excuses no longer have room to speak. Because this month isn't about how you feel, it's about who you are becoming. And you might think, can 30 days really change everything? Yes, because 30 days of focus is more powerful than 300 days of half effort. When you move with purpose, clarity, and discipline, time slows down, progress speeds up, and your identity begins to shift. You begin to see yourself as someone capable, consistent, and confident, someone who keeps promises to themselves, someone who takes action while everyone else hesitates, someone who stops living in the past and starts building their future. Most people fail not because they aren't talented, but because they aren't consistent. They'll work hard for 3 days, then disappear for 3 weeks. They'll have a burst of motivation, then fall back into old habits. The next 30 days fix that. This month is about building momentum, real momentum, the kind that doesn't stop, the kind that pushes you forward even on your worst days, the kind that turns discipline into identity. Let's talk about your goals for a second. Not the goals you tell people about, but the goals you keep to yourself. The goals you dream about when you're alone. The goals you're scared to admit because they feel too big, too unrealistic, too far away. Those goals were put inside you for a reason. They're not random. They're clues about the life you're meant to build. And if you ignore them, you will always feel a quiet dissatisfaction in your life. Not because you're ungrateful, but because you're unfulfilled. So for the next 30 days, I want you to chase the goal that scares you the most, the one that forces growth, the one that forces discipline, the one that forces you to become a stronger version of yourself. Because fear is not a stop sign, it's a compass. It points you toward the areas of your life that need work, courage, and action. You know what else it points to? Your future. Fear hides the life you want. Discipline unlocks it. People ask all the time, what if I fail? But the real question is, what if you don't try? Failure is temporary, regret is permanent, and regret is the price you pay when you choose comfort over courage. The next 30 days are your chance to eliminate regret from your future. To look back one day and say, that was the month everything changed. That was the month you finally took yourself seriously. That was the month you stopped making excuses and started making progress. You are going to build habits that change your life. Not habits for a week, not habits for a trend, habits that stick, habits that create wealth, discipline, health, confidence, mindset, opportunity. You're going to fix your relationship with yourself because you cannot succeed externally if you are broken internally. You cannot build a strong life on a weak foundation. You cannot expect respect from the world if you don't respect yourself first. The next 30 days, you rebuild that foundation. You build trust with yourself. You become a person who does what they say they will do. You become someone reliable, consistent, unstoppable, someone who no longer needs motivation because discipline has become automatic. And once that happens, once discipline becomes part of who you are, your entire life shifts. You become more focused, more resilient, more confident. You start attracting opportunities instead of chasing them. People begin to respect you more because they see the difference. They see the hunger. They see the commitment. They see the growth. They know you're no longer the person who talks, you're the person who acts. And that version of you, that version will build a life you can be proud of. Not a life based on luck, not a life based on chance, a life built on intention, discipline, and relentless action. Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You need more purpose. You don't need more motivation. You need more discipline. You don't need a new year, a new month, or a new Monday. You need a new identity. An identity is built through repetition, through consistent action, through doing the TINGS you know you need to do, even when you don't feel like doing them. This is the last month where you live on autopilot. The last month where you operate below your potential. The last month where you break promises to yourself. The last month where you let fear and excuses run your life. From this moment forward, everything changes. Most people underestimate how fast their life can transform when they finally stop waiting for the right moment and decide to take deliberate action. We grow up believing change takes years, but the truth is that the foundation of any major transformation happens in an extremely short and intense period. 30 days might seem small, but it's enough to rebuild discipline, restructure your mindset, break destructive habits, and set in motion a momentum powerful enough to alter the next decade of your life. These next 30 days hold the potential to become the most defining period of your entire journey, because real change doesn't require time. It requires commitment. When you finally declare that enough is enough, when you make a clear decision to push past your fears, distractions, and excuses, everything begins to shift. Your focus sharpens, your habits harden, your purpose strengthens, and your identity begins to evolve into someone capable of achieving the things you've been dreaming about. Your life right now is the result of the standards you accepted in the past, the habits you repeated, and the decisions you made or didn't make. But none of that has to define your future. You have the power to rewrite the script. And it starts the moment you commit to using the next 30 days with a level of intensity you've never applied before. Imagine waking up each day knowing exactly what you need to do, moving with purpose instead of drifting, choosing growth instead of comfort, and refusing to settle into your familiar patterns. That type of focus compounds. One day of discipline turns into two turns into a week turns into a month. And before you know it, your identity shifts from someone who wishes to someone who executes. Change doesn't demand perfection, it demands decision. And the decision you make right now to treat the next 30 days as the turning point of your life can create a ripple effect so strong that the old version of you becomes unrecognizable. The person who wakes up 1 month from now will either be someone who repeated the same cycle of procrastination and disappointment, or someone who stepped into a higher standard of living and refused to go back to the old way. Time will pass regardless, but what you do with the next 30 days will determine whether that time serves you or consumes you. The future you want does not require waiting for the perfect conditions. It requires using the time you already have and transforming it into something meaningful. Your new life won't appear magically. It will appear through intentional effort, repeated daily starting now. This is your chance to build momentum so powerful that it carries you into a different lifestyle. Momentum that strengthens your discipline, rewires your mindset, and proves to yourself that you are capable of achieving far more than you've ever given yourself credit for. 30 days is not the finish line, it's the ignition. And once you ignite that fire inside you, everything around you begins to change. Opportunities appear, confidence grows, clarity emerges, and pathways you once thought were impossible suddenly become accessible. All of it starts with 1 month of committed action. 1 month where you go all in. 1 month where you decide that you are done living below your potential. 1 month where you choose transformation over stagnation. These next 30 days can become the foundation of your next chapter, the MO. Meant where everything shifts. The month that changes your life completely. Every person has a moment in their life where they look at themselves and realize they can no longer keep living as the person they've been. The habits that once felt harmless now feel suffocating. The excuses that once felt justified now feel embarrassing. The comfort that once felt safe now feels like a trap. That moment, the moment you decide this is the last month you tolerate your old self, is the moment everything begins to shift. Excuses are subtle. They disguise themselves as logic, as timing, as protection, as self-care, as waiting for the right moment. But the truth is that excuses are the invisible chains that keep you locked inside a life that doesn't fulfill you. You can't build a powerful future while repeatedly negotiating with the weaknesses that hold you back. This month must become the barrier between who you were and who you're becoming. Your old habits are familiar, but they are not aligned with your goals. They keep you repeating the same cycles: procrastination, distraction, laziness, overthinking, lack of direction. The routines that once felt comfortable are the same routines that have kept you stuck in place for years. To break free, you must treat this month as a point of no return. Every time you feel the urge to delay, every time you hear that voice in your head whisper, "You can start tomorrow," shut it down. You cut off all negotiation with your excuses. You stop giving your weaker self power. You stop acting like you have unlimited time, because you don't. Life moves quickly. Opportunities don't wait. Growth doesn't wait. The world doesn't pause just because you're stuck. If you want to elevate your life, you must confront the hard truth that your excuses are killing your progress more than any external obstacle ever could. Old habits only die when you replace them with stronger ones. This month is not about trying to be perfect. It's about refusing to let your worst habits control your decisions. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you take back control of your life. Every time you make a decision based on who you want to become rather than who you've been, you strengthen your identity. Every day you push past your excuses, you build a new version of yourself. This is the month where you stop being your own enemy and start being your own ally. Think about where your excuses have taken you. Think about the dreams you've delayed, the opportunities you've missed, the confidence you've lost, the potential you've sabotaged. And now imagine what your life could look like if you removed every one of those excuses for just 30 days. Picture yourself moving with discipline instead of hesitation. Picture yourself making decisions instantly instead of overthinking. Picture yourself taking action when you don't feel like it. Picture yourself becoming unstoppable. That version of you exists. It's not a fantasy. It's waiting behind your excuses. This is the last month you blame circumstances. The last month you allow fear to slow you down. The last month you accept anything less than discipline. Because once you break through your excuses, you never want to go back. You realize how much time you've wasted. You realize how strong you truly are. You realize how quickly your life can change when you stop holding yourself back. This is not just another month. It's the dividing line between your past and your future. And once you cross it, you never return to the person you used to be. Motivation is a spark, but discipline is the fire that keeps burning long after motivation fades. People rely on motivation because it feels good, it feels exciting, it feels powerful. But motivation is temporary. It shows up randomly, disappears quickly, and cannot be trusted. Discipline, on the other hand, is dependable. Discipline works when you don't feel like working. Discipline shows up when you're tired. Discipline pushes you forward when your emotions pull you back. And the truth is that every successful person you admire became who they are. Not because of motivation, but because of discipline. Motivation gets you started for a day. Discipline builds your future for a lifetime. Most people make decisions based on their feelings. If they feel motivated, they work. If they don't, they stop. That mindset guarantees failure. You cannot build a powerful life based on emotions that change every hour. You must build it on decisions, habits, and identity. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when your mind tries to negotiate. And that is exactly where transformation begins. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you strengthen your character. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-respect grows. Every time you act without waiting to feel ready, you develop mental toughness. Discipline is the muscle that separates dreamers from achievers. When you rely on motivation, you spend your life starting and stopping, growing and shrinking, moving forward and falling back. But when you rely on discipline, you move forward consistently, even if the steps are small. And consistent forward movement creates momentum. Momentum is the most powerful force in success. Once you build it, everything becomes easier. Decisions become clearer. Habits become automatic. Progress becomes natural. But momentum only begins when you take action repeatedly, not emotionally. You must train your mind to act regardless of how you feel. Your feelings are not your guide. They are your obstacle. Discipline is the tool that lets you push past them. Discipline is also the key to confidence. Confidence doesn't come from compliments, achievements, or luck. It comes from self-trust. When you repeatedly prove to yourself that you can take action even when you don't want to, your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to change and start seeing yourself as someone capable, strong, and committed. Confidence grows every time you show up for yourself, and the more disciplined you become, the stronger that confidence becomes. It becomes unshakable. This month, you must prioritize discipline over motivation. Wake up early even when your mind begs you to stay in bed. Work on your goals even when your energy feels low. Study and learn even when you feel distracted. Move forward even when you feel overwhelmed. Because every disciplined action is a vote for your future. Every time you choose discipline, you build the future version of yourself. And once discipline becomes part of your identity, everything around you begins to shift. Opportunities appear. People respect you more. Your results speak for themselves. Your life transforms not because you felt motivated, but because you stayed disciplined long enough to become unstoppable. The goals that scare you the most are the exact goals designed to shape you into your highest version. Most people hide their biggest goals because they feel too unrealistic, too far away, too intimidating. But the truth is that your biggest goals are not random. They are aligned with your potential. They exist inside you because you are capable of achieving them, even if you don't feel ready yet. The dream you fear the most is often the path you were meant to walk. Fear doesn't show up to block you, it shows up to guide you. It points toward the areas of your life that will transform you the most. When a goal doesn't scare you, it's because it doesn't require growth. It doesn't challenge your comfort zone or your limitations. But the big goals, the ones that make your heart race, demand discipline, courage, sacrifice, and identity change. That's why they feel overwhelming. They stretch you, they pressure you, they force you to become someone new. And that's exactly why you must chase them. If a goal doesn't change you, it will never change your life. Your biggest goals require you to let go of fear, self-doubt, laziness, and excuses. They require you to strengthen your habits, sharpen your focus, and raise your standards. Those goals aren't just dreams, they are instructions. They tell you exactly who you need to become. Your biggest goals also reveal the life you desire deep down, not the life society expects from you, not the life your past experiences tried to shape you into, the life your true self wants. When you ignore those goals, you don't just stay stuck. You feel empty, unfulfilled, restless, not because you're ungrateful, but because you're living below your potential. Your mind knows you're capable of more, and your heart knows you're meant for more. That inner conflict is the result of ignoring your biggest goals. Chasing a big goal forces you to become disciplined. It forces you to wake up earlier, learn new skills, eliminate distractions, and push through discomfort. It forces you to break the habits that once held you back. It forces you to become brave enough to fail. And failure is not the enemy, stagnation is. Failure teaches you. Failure strengthens you. Failure directs you. But avoiding your big goals only guarantees regrets. And regret is the outcome of dreams you never pursued. This month is your opportunity to finally chase the goal you've been afraid to admit. The goal that keeps coming back in your mind. The goal you imagine in your quiet moments. The goal that feels almost too big. That goal is your roadmap. It is the path toward your best self. And the moment you begin working toward it, even if you start small, your life begins to shift. You gain energy, you gain clarity, you gain a sense of purpose. Suddenly, your time becomes meaningful. Your decisions become intentional. Your habits become stronger because you are no longer moving randomly. You are moving towards something powerful. You do not need to accomplish your biggest goal in 30 days, but you must begin. You must commit. You must take the first step. All great transformations begin with a bold decision. And the goal that scares you the most is the one that has the power to transform you the most. When you chase it, you step into the life you were truly meant to live. Talent is common, intelligence is common, dreams are common, but consistency is rare. And that is why consistency is the real differentiator between people who succeed and people who stay stuck. Most people can work hard for a day. Anyone can be disciplined for a week. Anyone can be motivated for a moment. But consistency, showing up every day, especially on the days you don't feel like it, is what builds results that compound over time. Success is not built in sudden bursts. It's built through daily deliberate actions repeated long enough to create unstoppable momentum. The problem is that most people never stay consistent long enough to experience that momentum. Consistency creates progress even when effort is imperfect. You don't need to do everything right. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to keep going. Small steps done daily will always beat big steps done occasionally. Consistency builds discipline. Consistency builds confidence. Consistency builds character. And most importantly, consistency builds results. When you're consistent, your habits reinforce themselves. Your discipline strengthens. Your identity evolves. Suddenly, things that felt difficult become automatic. The actions that once required effort become natural. The goals that once felt impossible become achievable. People fail not because they lack ability, but because they stop. They start strong and quit quickly. They let emotions dictate their effort. They allow one bad day to erase weeks of progress. They restart the same goals every few months because they never stay consistent long enough to break through the barrier. But the truth is, consistency is not about intensity, it's about repetition. It's about showing up at a level you can maintain daily. It's about refusing to disappear when life gets busy. It's about keeping the promises you make to yourself. The next 30 days are your opportunity to prove to yourself that you can remain consistent. Not for the world, not for validation, not for applause, for yourself. Consistency is a form of self-respect. It means you value your future enough to invest in it daily. It means you trust yourself enough to follow through, and that trust creates internal strength that cannot be shaken. When you know you can stay consistent, you become unstoppable. Consistency also creates clarity. The more you show up, the more you learn about what works and what doesn't. You adjust, refine, and improve. You understand your strengths and weaknesses. You see progress, even if it's small. Those small wins add up. They build momentum, and momentum turns into transformation. Within 30 days of consistent action, your entire life can shift. Your mindset improves, your habits strengthen, your confidence grows. You develop a new level of discipline. Success is not about luck or timing. It's about consistency. Anyone can be great for a moment, but only a consistent person becomes great permanently. You don't need to move fast. You just need to move forward every single day. And as long as you do that, your success becomes inevitable. Your life will never rise above the identity you hold inside your mind. You cannot build a successful, disciplined, confident life while still seeing yourself as someone inconsistent, unworthy, or average. Transformation does not begin with habits. It begins with identity. You become what you repeatedly tell yourself you are. If you see yourself as someone who always quits, someone who's lazy, someone who lacks discipline, someone who never follows through, then your actions will always reflect that identity. The outer world mirrors the inner world. Your identity is the foundation upon which every action, habit, and decision is built. If the foundation is weak, the structure collapses. But when the foundation becomes strong, everything you build becomes unshakable. Identity is built through repetition. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. When you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for a stronger identity. When you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-trust. When you take action, even though you feel afraid, you build courage. Over time, these votes accumulate, and slowly your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. You stop seeing yourself as someone stuck and start seeing yourself as someone rising. That internal shift is what creates external transformation. Most people try to change their life by changing their environment, their routine, their friends, their schedule. But none of those changes matter if the identity behind them remains weak. You cannot act like a new person while thinking like the old one. You must rebuild your self-image. You must decide who you want to become and begin acting as that person immediately, not someday, not when you're ready. Now, identity change is painful because it forces you to confront your weaknesses, your excuses, and your fears. It requires honesty, it requires discipline, it requires accountability. But it is the most powerful transformation you will ever experience. When your identity evolves, everything in your life begins to align. You make better decisions because you trust yourself. You follow through because you no longer negotiate with your mind. You attract better people because you operate at a higher frequency. You seize opportunities because you believe you are capable. Your standards rise, your expectations rise, your discipline rises. You begin to move like someone destined for success. And when you move like that, success follows you. This month is your opportunity to evolve your identity, become the person who doesn't need motivation to work, become the person who follows through on promises, become the person who prioritizes growth over comfort, become the person who acts with purpose. When your identity shifts, your habits shift. When your habits shift, your actions shift. When your actions shift, your entire life shifts. You cannot force the world to change for you. You must. Change the person you bring to the world. Once you do, life begins to open in ways you never imagined.